All right, Fauss and Tejon, we're talking news for the last week of October 2022. A lot to unpack here lately, but I would say one of the big ones is Elon Musk and Twitter. What have you heard that you found interesting in this whole ordeal?
There was some interesting news right out the gate. I guess the first time he entered the Twitter headquarters, he walked in with a big sink. And it was just to say to everyone in the building, let this sink in. I now own Twitter. I thought it was kind of funny, but obviously Elon Musk is a character.
Very
And he
eccentric,
likes,
right?
right, he's kind of centric, but he is a funny guy. Like he's quite witty. He's very intelligent. He's genius level. He's just funny. So him carrying in a sink on his first day in the office, kind of funny.
He fired,
But
what, three big executives?
I think it was four, the
Okay.
top four right out the gate. I know the CEO, the CFO, I think the CIO, but I could be wrong there. And then the top lawyer who was trying to take credit for banning certain people off the platform, like Donald Trump. Really big names.
Deservedly so. I mean, that's that usually going to happen after a takeover anyway. But these people really kind of deserved it, in
Right.
in
Well,
my opinion.
true. Whenever you look at just the business aspect of it, the overhead on Twitter is so fucking huge, and they haven't been making money for years. They've been losing billions of dollars. But whenever you go through and you look at the aspect of Twitter and the kind of infrastructure they have to have, there's a lot of people speculating that the federal government has been kind of the backer for Twitter for a while. And so that's one of the reasons why you have so many of these individuals in these positions controlling speech on the platform. And with Musk coming in, he has. I mean, the question is still out on whether he's a good businessman. Now, the guy knows how to make money, but most of his money from Tesla has come through government subsidy, right? I don't think Tesla has ever been in the black. I honestly don't know, but he's been supported through a lot of federal subsidy, many, right?
Well, and
Twitter being,
he brought in some Tesla executives, right?
which I don't doubt, because there was a real question of whether the employees were going to do some acts of sabotage on their way out, because he was saying he was looking at getting rid of probably 75% of the workforce, saying these were a bunch of overpaid babies that were working at the place.
I mean, I would agree with that if you hear some of the stuff coming out. You heard about the fake, what was it, a Trump press release saying he'll be back Monday? People figured out I guess that was false. He didn't put that out.
Trump has said that he was never going back to Twitter. It didn't matter if Musk owned it or not. He wasn't going back.
Yeah, so then that press release that wasn't real sparked outrage, of course, with people and companies saying they're no longer supporting it. I thought like a dozen companies now pull out of the Twitter business. Liberals definitely want what they want. When it comes to bully tactics with stuff like this, if it's not what they like, they act petulant about it, which is
It's very
odd.
true.
It's very odd behavior, and Twitter has sparked a lot of that odd behavior because they
Right.
said, anything to do, and this ties into, the Kanye West thing we'll talk about later. Any company that has something to do with Twitter, we're going to boycott that and march and all this stuff. And
Well, and the best example I could give you is you look at somebody like Ben Shapiro. Like you can love him or you can hate him, but the guy just speaks his mind and that's it. He's not violent. Never seen him attack anybody. You've seen him very quick-witted and with a sharp tongue, and if he thinks you're wrong, he just tells you that you're wrong and thinks your ideas are stupid, and that's it, right? But on the flip side of it, there was a time where he was actually on a show with a transgender individual that requested that he use the correct pronouns while addressing this person. And Ben Shapiro basically said, "No, I'm not going to do that." The guy got in his face and told him that he would beat his ass if he didn't use the correct pronouns, if he insulted him again. And Ben Shapiro just sat there and looked at him like, okay, whatever. I'm still not going to use the correct pronoun. Right? That's the left. That's the epitome of the left right there. Like, they will use violence whenever they feel justified. Look at communist slash Marxist slash fascist ideology. Everything is by force. The LGBT community. In the beginning, what was it? We just want to be accepted. Okay. We allow them to be accepted. They have their parades, and now there's movies out there. And once it starts getting into mainstream life, it starts coming into the schools, and we start saying, hey, we don't really need to be subjecting our kids to that. Oh, well, now we're going to make you have to accept this or we'll cancel you. Like, no bank accounts, no credit cards, you can't go to the store anymore, no online presence. Like, we basically erase you. That is the left. That's how the left operates.
Well, and Elon Musk is going to bring back some of the users that were suspended, some say unjustly. So I know he's working on that, or already has been doing that. Certain
Right.
users.
Well, yeah, by far and large, it's been conservative voices that have been canceled for not towing the liberal narrative, for completely disagreeing with pronouns, for disagreeing with what's going on inside the schools, disagreeing with the COVID information that was put out. Of course, everything is labeled as misinformation if it doesn't tow a certain narrative. And then these accounts just get canceled, and you're never to speak again unless you go to a platform that doesn't censor based off of your ideology. And it's so odd, because you would think that liberals would want to have, because their ideas are batshit crazy, right? But conservatives don't say you don't get to talk about it. Like, conservatives want you to talk about your batshit craziness, right? So that everyone can see how terrible your ideas are. Let's debate them. Let's get them out in the open. Whenever you start saying all this crazy stuff and people look at you and say, hey, you're crazy, and this conservative is kind of right, that this is never going to work. Well, guess who wins the debate? But see, that's why liberals have to resort to violence. That's why they have to resort to silencing any debate.
It's very
You
weird
know,
because if you've been on Twitter very much, it's a very toxic place. Well before Elon Musk ever thought about buying it, and then for someone to think it's going to get even more toxic, no, it won't. It'll either stay the same or he can make changes. But it's
I
toxic to begin with. It's a very toxic app.
right. It was toxic, and then conservatives got canceled. So I imagine the toxicity died down, but you just didn't have so much debate. It was just one narrative was dominating the platform,
Well, no, I
right?
mean it's still toxic liberals and against other toxic liberals. I mean that's just how it is. I mean,
Well, that could be true. I mean, I'm rarely on it. I stopped posting on it once I seen what was going on, and I didn't agree with it, so I just stepped out. But I'd gladly go back if I'm able to speak my mind without somebody saying, "Hey, you're kicked out of here because you said something I didn't like."
yeah,
If you disagree with me, you disagree with me. But if you want to kick me off the platform because you disagree with me, I don't necessarily agree with that. It's a public platform. You're a publicly traded company. Well,
Paul.
not now.
Well, right, and you know, public trading companies, public traded companies. Man, they're so worried about cancel culture and everything. You know how that works. They
Right, but that's the thing is you have these ESG standards now that dictate that there's certain things that your company has to do in order to get certain funding from certain entities. And so the woke culture is infiltrating every aspect of business. You see it on boards, you see it on the ESG ratings. If you don't match up with a certain ESG rating or a climate rating, then you don't get funding. They won't give you loans to expand your business. The banks won't fund you. Nothing.
It
That's
wouldn't.
that's why
Yeah,
that's part of cancel culture right
it affects stock, and then everyone
there.
goes
Yes,
crazy. Yep.
exactly.
Uh, Paul Pelosi story. This is crazy too. I mean, especially when you hear about the guy that attacked him. The only thing about this story that I found a little bit suspect is supposedly when he broke in, he was talking about where's Nancy, right? I,
That's been reported through media.
yeah, I don't know that I believe that, and I'm not saying it's false. Obviously, I wasn't there in my underwear with this guy, or this
Right.
nudist homeless dude or whatever. But I, sometimes stories can be fabricated to really, you know, make it look
Well,
like it's a
okay,
political attack or whatever else. And
true.
I
And
just,
that is a narrative that's being formed right now because you're being told that the guy was in his underwear wielding a hammer beating on Paul Pelosi whenever the cops showed up, right? That's the story that's being portrayed.
yeah,
Now the police are reporting that Paul Pelosi armed himself with a hammer and then this person took it away from him. I think that's some of the small reporting that's coming out from the police. So who knows? Did the guy go in with the hammer, or did he take the hammer from Paul Pelosi?
maybe Paul invited him in for some insider stock information,
I mean, that could be the other thing that comes out.
or to tell him how to get out of DUIs or whatever.
Well, I need to set up a meeting with this man.
Well, you're too late, but
I I'll be back.
Paul Paul can get
Paul
out of them.
Pelosi.
You know what I mean?
That's very true.
But yeah, this guy's crazy, and his backstory is crazy, right? I mean, there's other stuff this guy's done.
Right. Yeah, there's people that have known him for a while that say that he's not right. He has mental episodes. That he's a transient, which sounds like he's a homeless person that just kind of moves around from place to place, city to city. But I mean, here's the biggest thing. It's California. Conservatives have been choked out of California. So was this a conservative hit job? I don't know. A transient person with a history of mental disorders that goes into Nancy and Paul Pelosi's house in the middle of the night, 2 a.m., and assaults Paul Pelosi. I'm not so sure that this is a political hit job rather than probably just another crime being committed in California that's riddled with all kinds of crime. It's San Francisco. San Francisco has crime out the wazoo. It's through the roof.
Well, people are trying to get out of there if you can, obviously.
True. True. Yeah, I mean, anybody who has money, where are they leaving California and going to?
I mean, everywhere, but usually it sounds like it's Arizona, Texas.
Arizona, Texas, Nevada are
Yeah.
the big hot spots for California. So, but I mean, if you're a transient, you don't have a lot of money, just move out.
Yeah, that's
And obviously
interesting.
California, yeah, they're very, very generous with other people's money. So if you're a homeless person, you can always get a free meal. You can always get something from the state, city. They always offer a million different types of service.
Well, I
But
mean,
it's
good on him. But I guess the surgery was successful. The fracture.
so he fractured his skull in this incident, right?
Yeah.
That's the report.
Yep. That's what I'm reading.
Interesting. Well, I mean, I'm not a big fan of Nancy or Paul, but also at the same time, human beings, and I don't wish death upon them. I hope he has a quick and speedy recovery.
Do you
And
think he?
just
Do you think after skull surgery, maybe the guy jarred something to where he's going to be right wing now? He's seen the light.
oh my God, Nancy would divorce him so fast,
Yeah, yeah,
and then he writes a tell-all book.
yeah. Get a load of
This,
this one.
yeah, get a load of this wife.
Yeah. And then another huge story is Kanye's continuing his self-destruction tour. Is that what this
Man,
is?
what is going on with Kanye?
I don't know.
Or yay.
Yeah. Are you wearing your Yeezys right now? Or
I am not. I took them off.
oh, you took them
I'm
off
in my non-Yeezy. I mean,
again?
listen, I didn't want to dirty him up for the pod.
Yeah, you don't not in the house, right? Not in the house.
Yeah, not in all this mudslinging.
But you see, I guess sports teams used to play his music before games to fire them up. They're no longer doing that. You can't do that. What was the big one? Adidas. They were all over Adidas because these huge
Right.
companies, they do no wrong. But if you say some stuff, you can do what
Right. Once again.
labor. You can labor camps fine. What Kanye West says. Hey,
Right.
whoa, what's
Yeah, Chinese labor camps. I mean, that's as long as it makes us money, it's fine. Oh, he says something that we don't agree with. Oh fuck, we got to get rid of him.
But yeah,
Got to get rid of him.
this is a bonkers story, but I don't know what's the point. I guess is what you're trying to get at. Like, why is he doing this? I mean, headlines or what is he trying to make change? I have no clue. I mean, if
Well, he's always been somewhat of a controversial individual, and this is just I don't know if this is like his publicist or manager or somebody saying, "Hey, let's go do this crazy thing this week. Keep your name out there." But what was it? A couple of weeks ago, he went out with Candace Owens wearing an all or White Lives Matter shirt, right? Triggered a lot of lefties. They got all pissed off about it. And then the week after that, he makes these strange anti-Semitic comments where who was he talking about? He said somebody's controlled by the Jews.
I don't know. Do you
You,
think is it Pete Davidson? No, I don't know. Do you think
oh,
do you
he's
think that guy? Well, now they broke up, obviously, but he's off the hook now, right? Kanye's moved on to other things instead of making music about
right.
and
Is he
videos
is he
about him
dating
dying.
Taylor Swift yet?
Who Davidson or Kanye? Because that'd be a good twist.
Kanye.
Oh, I don't know. She's got a new hot album that I'll never hear that just came out. Midnight. She released it at midnight.
I heard
It's
it's trash,
good
but it's
promotion.
getting rave reviews.
I mean, is that her whole career? Is that what you're getting at? I mean,
I think early on she had some decent because she started out as like what country,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then she moved into pop.
country leaning, right? That's what you'd consider that.
Country leaning. Yeah, it was country leaning, and then she went into pop, and everyone was like, "Oh, okay." And then like every song after that was about ex-boyfriends. People were like, "This chick sounds damaged."
But you know what? The one thing I did learn is, man, Kanye had his hand in a lot more things than I ever knew. And I mean, I didn't know he had like that Donda Athlete Academy or whatever that is because,
I thought Donde was like an actual school.
oh, is it an actual okay. I mean, yeah.
I thought that it was. I could be wrong.
I know a
I
lot of
haven't
people
done
are
any
trying to
research on it.
distance themselves from that. They're saying, rappers, I guess, are getting out in front of this and it's like, oh, I won't rap with this guy, and I don't know. It's just, he he must have not made any real friends on the way up, right? Because now that he's on the way down, you know what they say.
Well, isn't that true with like nearly every industry though? I mean, obviously he's a talented guy. He's made a lot of money. Um, I am not into anything Kanye. I don't listen to any of his music. I'm not into his fashion, not into his shoes. I don't know a whole lot about the guy, but he's done well for himself, which I respect. Anybody who's successful that's done it on their own.
Yeah, well, the fashion world's turned his back or turned their back on him too. So
Right, of
is what it
course. And
is.
I mean, but this is kind of a 2022 is a different time than what we grew up, where typically somebody speaks their mind. You know, I don't know. I mean, people say the wrong stuff all the time. It just happens to be if you're an influential person,
Well, you
it
always
can
heard that
really
there
bite you.
were some powerful Jewish people in power spots in
That's
meat
been true
or
for thousands of years,
right.
right?
But
There's always been influential Jewish people.
yeah,
The idea that whenever you say something like the Jews control so and so, um, I guess I could be regarded as anti-Semitic.
well, I'd just like to say here at Fauss and Tejon, we love Jewish people,
I got no
and
issues with Jewish
there
people.
you go, and it's because of eugenics. But I
Oh,
digress.
whew.
I'm all hot under the collar. Tell me about this Dropbox in Arizona.
Oh, yeah. So during the 2020 election, uh, right after you had this movie made by Dinesh D'Souza called 2000 Mules, where they highlighted the geospatial locations of all these mules that were running around dropping thousands of ballots inside these drop boxes, right? Which is illegal. You are, according to certain laws, and it depends on whatever state you're in, there's laws regarding what kind of ballots you can have in your possession and what you can drop in drop boxes. Right? So what they noticed was, like I said, there was thousands of these mules out there that were dropping thousands and thousands of ballots all over the state of Arizona. Well, now you have a certain group called, I believe it's called Clean Vote Arizona, that they have armed people that are standing, and they're a ways from the drop boxes, but they're standing there watching them with semi-automatic weapons. They don't say anything to the people that go to the drop boxes. They are just letting everyone know that their presence is there, right? Just kind of keeping an eye on. And there are left-wing groups that are now filing lawsuits trying to ban these people from being within eyesight of the Dropbox. Now, my question to you outside of the podcast earlier was if you're sitting at a Dropbox watching it, you don't even have to be armed. Let's just say you're sitting in your vehicle, just sitting there watching it, and it's known that you're sitting there watching the Dropbox. And somebody comes up and says, I can't have you watching this Dropbox. What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
That there's something very off about this Dropbox. Well, and then let alone the company being called, what is it? Clean Vote Arizona, is that what you said?
I think that's what it's called, is Clean Vote.
I mean, just that company existing tells you someone knows something. Like,
Oh, Clean Elections USA.
okay. But I mean,
That's the name of the group. They are the ones that are sitting there watching drop boxes in Arizona,
yeah.
and I believe it's just in Maricopa County where it's at. It's just one county where this happens, right?
I mean,
So,
I would think that, they don't want anyone, sabotaging this Dropbox.
well, not just sabotaging it, but they don't want people doing illegal things,
Right.
right? Which we know that illegal things happen during the 2020 election. Now, if you want to call me a conspiracy theorist, you can do that. I know nobody's been prosecuted for crimes regarding the mules. There's probably been some. Uh, this information is public. We know that there was crimes committed that hasn't been prosecuted, and you can debate me all you want. Go into the YouTube, drop a like, make a comment, call me a piece of shit. I don't care. But we know that there was a lot
Views.
of illegal shit
I'd like
that
to say
happened
views
during
from
this.
Tejon don't necessarily express the views of Foss and Tejon. Thank you.
True. Um,
And we love
but yeah,
Jewish
so
people.
love them. Just absolutely love them. But
And
yeah, they're the.
I just love how
If
you
you
think
come to
that you're
me,
going to get a good debate on YouTube.
oh, probably not. I hope that one idiot from
No, we're not bringing up the Kid Rock guy.
right.
Yeah. Who is probably with that homeless hammer guy in San Francisco.
Oh God,
Yeah.
I hope they're not homeless. Holy shit.
Waiting around the streets of piss in San Francisco.
Right. Just needles everywhere. You can't even go into a corner and piss. You're stepping on a needle.
Well, supposedly, I mean, restaurants, everything, they're everywhere. And
Oh yeah.
the fentanyl use is crazy. And, with Halloween coming up, check your kids' candy, because it might.
I was actually told today by a coworker that every Halloween event in their little town in the middle of Missouri has been canceled.
just out of fear of possible
Yes, because
tampering.
yeah, because they're now packaging and branding candy as legit candy, even though it has fentanyl in it.
Yeah,
Everybody is scared to death.
that's
These little hick
unfortunate.
towns.
Yeah.
Yeah, very
Well,
unfortunate.
and anyone small towns, man, people can, come up off illegal drugs in small towns. You know this. I mean, even around here,
Well,
it's
I
it's rampant.
just based on my experience around Kansas City, there is no single one small town around Kansas City that hasn't been affected by uh, crazy illicit and drug manufacturing.
Very true.
Like Kansas City is well known for its methamphetamine production. Out here. Independence at one time was the meth capital of the world, known as methapendant at one point. But even in Kearney, I remember in high school, whenever I was a senior, we had a house blow up in the middle of a really nice neighborhood because the idiot owner was cooking meth in the garage, blew up the entire house. Like two people died, and everybody was kind of like, oh, that can't happen. Well, guess what? It does happen.
Yeah.
It does
Well,
happen in these little fucking towns.
and now Lake of the Ozarks is the most dangerous lake in America. So,
Really?
hey, and they're also building like this $300 million family resort there. So obviously no one cares. But
True.
well, I mean, they said just from the sheer number of deaths on Lake of the Ozarks, and they said a lot of it's contributed to drinking and boating.
That I don't doubt.
So I mean, it's the
That's a pastime down there.
most dangerous lake. That Netflix series is right. That's what it's totally correct.
Ozark?
Yeah.
I love the little kid in Ozark. That guy's
Um.
a legend.
Again, the
Jonah?
views of Tejon does not express the views of Fauss and Tejon.
What?
I don't know. Let's go
Yeah, they
to
do.
let's let's finish the show with you said the debates they're pretty interesting this year.
Oh yeah.
I
Well,
I knew
okay.
about Herschel Walker. I didn't know Dr. Oz, huh? Dr. Oz is
Dr. Oz, yeah, he is in a very tight race with John Fetterman, who is currently the lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania. Now, back during the summer, I don't know how many months ago,
swing
it,
state, Pennsylvania.
it
Pretty
it has kind of become a swing state. I mean,
yeah.
it was solidly blue for a little. I would say through the 90s and 2000s, it's a pretty blue state. But you have John Fetterman, the lieutenant governor, who had a stroke here within the last few months, and the recovery has not been well for him. And it's blatantly obvious to everybody except for the mainstream media and Democrats that he cannot speak well, he cannot formulate or give very good coherent thoughts whenever he speaks. So they've tried to shelter him quite a bit, and they're one of the states that have a lot of early voting, like three weeks. I think you can start voting for the actual election. One of the things that his campaign did was they wanted Mehmet Oz wanted 3 debates, but the Fetterman campaign only agreed to 1, and it was on October 25th, which is like a week and a half to 2 weeks away from the actual election on November 8th. And whenever they went into the debate, one of the things that the Fetterman campaign had asked for and the Oz campaign agreed to was to have a closed captioning system to where all the questions and responses could be displayed on a screen so that John Fetterman could see it because he's having issues. He claims that he has issues with his auditory and he's really struggling with responding to everything. So they set all this stuff up. They went through the debate, and it was an absolutely horrible debate, John Fetterman. Like 80% of the people said that Oz won this thing. And now, I think a day or two after the debate, the trending search on Google was how can I change my early vote in Pennsylvania? Because you had a whole bunch of probably independents and some Democrats that voted for John Fetterman, and then they watch the debate, and they're like, oh, fuck, this guy is not coherent whatsoever. He's going to be a U.S. Senator. Hell.
Well, and he was
So,
probably had a little bit of an uphill battle because, I mean, Dr. Oz, public speaking, it's going to be pretty top notch, you would think.
well, and that's honestly been the argument of the Democrats is, hey, listen, we go into this debate, Dr. Oz, he has a PhD and he's used to lecturing to college students and he had his own show for so long and he's used to doing this and we got this guy that's not. But whenever you look at John Fetterman, he was the mayor of Braddock, Pennsylvania. He was the lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania. He should be used to being involved with the public and doing public speaking. So to me, a normal individual that looks at the situation and says, Dr. Oz, who's kind of a TV personality versus someone who's an established politician,
Yeah, with
like,
the experience.
right, come on. Come on. You can't tell me that John Fetterman isn't prepared to go up in a debate with Dr. Oz unless he is mentally not there, mentally incoherent. But that's just a normal idiot Midwestern hick, which necessarily isn't the view of the boss of Dale.
Well, you got Herschel Walker. I mean, how is that guy doing? Because he doesn't
I'm
seem like he's exactly a silver tongue.
No, he's not. I mean, the guy he's a multi-millionaire ex-football player. He has his history of issues.
5,000 push-ups and set-ups a day, and he only eats soup and salad. I mean, that's the only thing I know about him.
And that's kind of nutty. I mean, I don't think Raphael Warnock,
Can't
but
can't keep up with that.
hell no, he ain't up with that. He's too busy evicting people out of the building that his church owns.
Tejon's views do not necessarily express the views of Fauss and Tejon.
Right. But yeah, no. So Herschel Walker, Raphael Warnock. So Raphael Warnock, he won kind of a contentious election in 2020.
Is this in Georgia, by the way? I mean,
This is in Georgia.
okay.
Yeah, this is Stacey Abrams, Raphael Warnock. They, well, Stacey Abrams. But a lot of people blame Trump. Like Ben Shapiro specifically blames Trump for
Is there
Raphael
anyone
Warnock
watching
winning.
the drop boxes in Georgia?
I have no idea. I hope so.
They need to.
Yes. Well, Georgia had their issues in the what was it? The Atlanta, what do they got? The Superdome?
Yeah, they do.
So they had their issues there during the election. You remember they had the pipe burst and they had to evacuate the building during the 2020 election.
No,
Everybody had to leave.
I
But
don't
for
remember
some
that.
reason, you had 3 individuals that kept counting ballots in the middle of the night.
Yeah, and they wouldn't let anyone in, right, or something. Something was
Oh no, they
afoot.
cleared out the building.
Yeah.
And then these three people kept counting the same ballots over and over and over. And then all of a sudden at 2 a.m., Biden was ahead.
Well,
Right?
they had to count for a while,
Exactly. That's how far down he was. But yeah, so Georgia has its own issues. But you had Trump that went out and kind of campaigned against, because they knew that there was weird shit going on. And Raphael Warnock ended up winning because I think there was a lot of Republicans that were turned off from the process because they knew that there was weird shit going on. People's votes were getting fleeced, right? So there was not a large Republican turnout to the vote, and then Raphael Warnock won. And you can go back and look at this guy's history. He got in trouble for domestic assault. He ran over his wife's foot during an argument. Right now, okay, he ran over her foot. It isn't right. It's not like he beat the shit out of her and put her in the hospital or nothing. But still, that kind of behavior is not okay. And this man got elected, and now you have Herschel Walker, who this guy's been out of the NFL for how long? 20 years now.
I don't know, but I should have said the views of El Tejon is not necessarily of that of Fauss and Tejon, but go ahead.
Right. We need to
Running
keep
over
throwing that
feet
out.
is not good.
Yes.
And I love Jews. Herschel Walker. Now Herschel Walker is big Georgia standout, right, in college, and then NFL, and
Right.
then he had a little MMA career going too, just off his physicality.
Did he really?
Yeah, Bellator, right, or Strikeforce. It was Strikeforce at the time.
Okay.
So
I did not know that.
and then Herschel was on a Celebrity Apprentice, right? I mean, I don't know. You'd have to fact check that, but I think he knows. He knows the Trumpster. I think. I don't know.
I am not 100%
I
sure.
don't know. I'm a functioning alcoholic too, so I might just have made that
Right.
up.
I'm a non-functioning alcoholic. I don't even know how I'm on the show still. But the views that El Tejon presents are not necessarily the views
Of
Fauss
Fauss and
Tejon.
Tejon, right?
Right.
So anyway, is Herschel going to win this thing? I mean,
they are projecting that
no way.
He's possibly going to win them.
Wow.
I think he is. It's less than a percentage that he is up, but what we're seeing with all the early polling going on is they are oversampling Democrats because there's a lot of Republicans that don't want to participate in the poll, right? So you'll have like 55% Democrat compared to 40% Republican and 35% independent. And Raphael Warnock is down by less than 1 percentage point.
Yeah.
That tends to tell people that it's probably Herschel Walker is up in this race. That's usually what tends to happen whenever you oversample Democrats in any race and it's within the margin of error. Usually the Republican comes out on top of it. So that's what they're speculating right now is Herschel Walker is up in this race. But he's had his issues. He had one woman that come out a few weeks ago said that he took her to an abortion clinic, forced her to get an abortion, paid for it. Now in the last week, you've had a second woman that come out has claimed the same thing. Both of these women are being identified as Jane Doe. This is very reminiscent of what happened to Brett Kavanaugh during his vetting procedure before the Senate whenever he was nominated for Supreme Court justice. Very, very odd behavior. We don't know who these women are. We can't bet the stories. It's their word against Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker's denying these allegations. He's saying that he's never taken a woman to a clinic and paid for an abortion. It's not. These are Democrat allies that are coming out of the woodwork in the last hour, trying to derail his campaign. Which that could be very true. Where's the truth?
Once it hits the media, it's not a good thing, whether it's true or not. Once it hits the media, people jump to conclusions, and they're not usually good. So that hitting media, it's really that's not great. It's not great.
Right. Well, and you look at the the Hunter Biden stories. That we have videos of him doing crack on video, sleeping with hookers, saying all kinds of wild, illegal stuff. But all this was called Russian disinformation, and it was pulled away from mass media. It was censored on Twitter. It was censored on Facebook. These stories were not allowed to go out to the mainstream press. And there was a lot of people that said, if I would have heard these stories ahead of time, I never would have voted for Joe Biden. Like, we're talking millions of people within the margin of error for Trump to win, right? So these stories, whether they're true or not, it does have an effect on the American voter. So we'll see how it plays out. I mean, these polls all over the country, you have Gretchen Whitmer is in a really tight race with Tudor Dixon. Do you know who Tudor Dixon is?
Tudor Dixon. That's a hell of a name. I think that is Trace Atkins' alter ego, kind of like Garth Brooks did with the Chris
True. This
Gaines.
is a blonde woman.
Oh, then I was way off. Go ahead.
Blonde headed woman. She is in all the polls, even
Wait,
though they
Trace
call her
has
sample
long,
Democrat.
dirty blonde hair, right?
I don't know if you can call it. I mean, it's definitely dirty.
Right. Yeah, it is.
Yes, it is. But yeah, she's within the margin of error and oversampled Dem poll.
Wow.
Oregon, the race for the senator out there is close. A Republican could win that. The race for the governor of Oregon is extremely close. It's within the margin.
The
You have
fact that it's
five
even
districts.
extremely close is crazy to me.
Right. Well, once again,
I
look at the
can't see
time
that
zone we're in.
happening though, but we'll see.
From the election of Joe Biden up to now, you look at the things that have gone on. We've had over 2 million illegal immigrants that have been let into the country. You have uh, inflation that's absolutely insane. You have gas prices, natural gas prices that are through the roof. You have food prices that are through the roof. You have crime that is spiraling out of control all over the country, every major city. It's everything that is going on in America. Like, I think over 70% of Americans are saying we're on the wrong track in America, and people are tired of it. So there are very few places where Democrats are safe. There are 5 districts in California that went plus 16 to Joe Biden. They are now all trending to Republican. You have a race in Rhode Island, deep, deep blue Rhode Island, that is now trending Republican. We seen during 2020, Virginia, which used to be pretty deep red because we call that the cradle of the United States. That's where most of our founding fathers are from. It was deep, deep blue since the mid 90s. Well, based off of what we were seeing going on in the schools during the pandemic, parents actually get to see the CRT and the crazy transgender stuff going on in the schools. What happened there? They elected a Republican governor. They elected a Republican lieutenant governor, and they elected a Republican attorney general, all in one election. Everything went from deep blue to red immediately. So we're seeing this trend ever since 2020. People are tired of the weird nonsense. Like, Democrats have shifted way left, to where we want to defund the police, we want to inject heavy socialism, massive amounts of spending for green energy that isn't proven to be sustainable. We want to allow criminals out with no bail, where they go out and they continually commit the same crimes over and over. Um, we're injecting so much cash in society that everything is so expensive that very few people can afford things now. I mean, it's just getting worse and worse. Every week it gets worse. And no matter what the spin is that Democrats and the mainstream media want to put on it, people are tired of it. So you're seeing this huge red wave that's washing all over the country. You know, No plate. California isn't safe. Oregon isn't safe. Rhode Island, Virginia isn't safe. Your swing states are going to swing red. Arizona, you're going to get Carrie Lake. She's up plus 11 over Katie Hobbs. She's going to be your next governor in Arizona. You got Blake Masters in Arizona running for U.S. Senate against Mark Kelly. He is within the margin of error. It's a very tight race. Mitch McConnell does not want to inject cash in it, but it doesn't matter because there are so many people that are fed up with the Democrats. Arizona is unique because of illegal immigration, fentanyl, and crime. They're tired of it. They're tired of the federal government not doing anything. They want somebody who's going to go in there and go represent their views in Congress, right? Um, what other states are there? Obviously, you got Georgia. Brian Kemp is plus 7 over Stacey Abrams, which Brian Kemp, I think, won by 100. No, he won by 40 or 50,000 votes in 2018 over Stacey Abrams. She claimed the election was stolen, even though it wasn't. He is up plus 7 over her right now. She is so far underwater. There's no way she's going to get elected. Herschel Walker, he's up over Warnock. Mehmet Oz is up by like half a percentage point over John Fetterman. I mean, it's everywhere. It's all over the U.S. All these tight races that were trending Democrat and Democrat strongholds, they're no longer Democrat strongholds. So, I mean, we got what, a week to a week and a half until election day, November 8th, and then we see how it shakes out.
All right, to end the show, what are you going to be for Halloween, buddy?
I think I'm going to be a hermit. My lights off.
That's the way to go. And also, just real quick, Jake Paul boxes Anderson Silva tomorrow night. Who you got?
Oh man, I don't know. You want to talk this out for a minute? Because I haven't seen Anderson Silva for years.
Well, just for a minute. I mean, the dude is he's on the wrong side of 40. He's closer to 50 than he is 40. Obviously, he's transitioned into boxing. He's done well. I mean, he's still a slick guy. He stays in shape. Knocking out Tito Ortiz, who I assume is getting into politics eventually, right? Or I mean, he kind of is, right? Didn't he get like a mayor of Long Beach or Huntington Beach? I'm sorry, not Long Beach, Huntington Beach.
Right.
Anyway, so I mean, and then he beat Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., which people didn't expect that. So I mean, even though his
could shake out to be interesting.
I think it'll be interesting. I don't. Just to talk it over real quick, I think experience, obviously, it goes to Anderson Silva, but age doesn't. Jake Paul, obviously, he's going to have all the physical attributes. He's younger. But I think this leads to a hesitant decision, right?
Possibly.
Jake Paul probably doesn't want to rush in and lose to the old man, and the old man probably doesn't want to rush in and lose to the young bull, right? So, decision, I think it's a pick'em decision. Jake Paul will probably be more busy, but he might not be more precise. So I think it's going to be one of those, what do you prefer as a judge? There you go. That's my no answer.
Your no answer. I honestly I agree to an extent. I think Anderson Silva is going to have some moves for him. He's going to be slick. I don't think Anderson Silva has a knockout power, even for Paul.
We'll see.
I don't think he has it.
It'll be very interesting, but also don't put it past, I don't know, maybe some judges that are, how would you say it, more favorable towards another person. I don't know. How do you say that?
Yeah. Well, they may be biased
Yes.
in their
Yeah.
decision making on rounds.
Yeah.
Could
So
be, could be. I don't know. I mean, I liked Anderson Silva back in the day. Um, I don't mind Paul. I think that he's come a long way. I think if he has a good showing, uh, like you said, they may not go out hard right out the gate. How many rounds is this supposed to be?
I am not sure if it's 8 or 10. I assume maybe it's 8, but I haven't looked that hard into it.
I feel like if Paul goes out there and he kind of finds his groove and he gets comfortable, I think that he can hurt Anderson.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, that's kind of why I'll say Paul decision.
That's what I'm leaning. Paul decision.